You're listening to Solihull Radio.
That's right, you are listening to Solihull Radio. My name is Geoff O'Brien, and we have an amazing guest here live in the studio for you for our latest episode of Hashtag Life Stories. I'd like to welcome to the studio Carol Stevens. Carol, how are you?
Hello, Geoff. I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent. Now, let me just go through a little bit of the background for this story. About a year ago, Carol and I had a telephone conversation when we first launched Solihull Radio. And Carol runs a company called So Me Sweet. Now, I thought, well, that sounds absolutely amazing, so we must have a chat. Tell us a little bit about how the company developed, Carol, and how it all happened for you.
Okay, I've always had some form of career, and sort of underpinning all of that has been sewing. I've always enjoyed sewing, and a couple of years ago, I decided to attend craft fairs, selling items that I made, and I love doing the craft fairs. Very social, very enjoyable. And at one fair, a lady approached me and asked me if she could sell what I make in her shop. Obviously very flattering, and I said yes. That happened for a while, and we got into conversation, and she realised I was a qualified teacher, and that she had a room above her shop, and asked me if I would be prepared to run some sewing classes. And at first I thought, crikey, I'm not sure. But then decided to give it a go.
That sounds fantastic. Now, the sort of things that you make, in my mind, I've got this visualization of lots of sewing machines in a big U-shape thing with you standing at the front, sort of demonstrating how it all works. So, are you making cushions? Are you making dresses? Is it, do you run from patterns, or do you just have reams of material that you can just make things from?
Well, sort of all of the above, really.
Wow.
Most classes are for beginners or refreshers. A lot of people haven't sewn since they were at school. So they contact me. I put the list of classes available out there, and people contact me and ask me what the situation is, what the cost is, what's involved. Quite often people are nervous and worried about looking foolish, and in actual fact it's never a case of that, because it's great fun. I make them a nice cup of coffee.
Oh, lovely.
They arrive, they choose the fabrics once they've decided what they want to make, so be that a cushion cover or a hoodie or makeup bag with a zip and lining. Lots of choice.
Excellent stuff. Now, for Hashtag Life Stories here on Solihull Radio, let's go right back to the beginning. Now, you obviously did some sewing whilst you were at school.
I did.
And it became almost like a hobby or a pastime for you that gave you some sort of centering, as in being relaxed when you were doing your sewing. So where did your career start from there? You didn't suddenly become a textile expert straight after school. Where did you go first?
From school, I trained and qualified and became a lawyer.
Wow.
And I lived in London for quite a while, and then back in Oxford, which is my hometown.
Right.
And I practiced law until I was 40. So that was civil litigation and debt, some crime, some conveyancing, which bored me to tears.
Oh, I can imagine.
So I did that until I was 40 and had 3 young children then, and was asked to lecture in law at Solihull College.
Wow.
Which I did for 4 years. Wasn't particularly child-friendly because a lot of the lecturing was at night.
Right.
But whilst doing that, I realised how much I loved teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And that was post-16 then, so I had to retrain and qualify to teach in secondary schools, which I did. And so I taught from the age of 40, and mainly in pupil referral units with more challenging youngsters. And then from school, I started sewing at school. Didn't always have loads of time when I'd got my children, but made some bits and pieces. And then as my daughter got older, I actually made her dresses and things and popped them in the post to her because she lives in London,
right,
just as a surprise. And yes, it's just sort of gone from there.
When you wander around into haberdashery departments and things like that, is that when your eyes light up and you look around and see all the different materials and textiles that you can use? Or You know, I've wandered down into John Lewis here. Right at the sort of far corner there is their haberdashery. And you look round and you think, are people actually buying all this material and making these patterns and doing it? Is it a real big craze?
Do you know, I think it is now, especially
Is it?
since the sewing bee.
Oh, yes, I've seen that on television.
Yeah, it's great. And they took that off, and there was such an outcry that they've actually brought it back now.
Wow.
It's great, and it's so therapeutic. I have some ladies with autistic children.
I understand.
And I do a drop-in on a Monday where people can actually just drop in, have a coffee, and they bring their project along, and I support them to make that. So whatever they want to make, they bring with them. And I had one lady in particular arrive and stand in my kitchen, and she said, I don't know what I'm doing here, I just wanted to be here.
Oh, that's amazing story, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just such fun.
Yeah. No, and that gives back into the community as well, doesn't it? Because it brings us all together. Taking that journey that you've been on, you know, X number of years ago, you were practicing criminal law and those sort of things, which is a massive change from what you're doing now. Hats off to you for retraining.
Thank you.
Because that is incredibly difficult. And I know myself, generating the QTS folder for your assessment to be a teacher is incredibly difficult.
Absolutely.
It takes your whole life. And yeah, absolutely hats off. But I can see now that your eyes and your relaxed state is showing that you are where you'd like to be at this point in your life.
I definitely am. I'm probably happier than I've ever been.
Wow.
And it's just so nice. People arrive and they say, oh, you know, no confidence, I'll never be able to do this. And then they leave with something they've made and they're like, oh, wait till my husband sees this. And they'll book another class before they leave. You know, it's great. I love it. That's
excellent. Now, is it primarily machine-based things that you do, or do you actually do the needle and thread with a thimble as well?
It's all machine based, and I teach right from the very beginning, if that's what people like.
Okay.
They can come along and I will take the machine apart and show them exactly what everything is, why it's there, what it does, what to do if it goes wrong. And then from there upwards, if people already know that, they can come along and start a little bit further along the line, if you like, and just make something. Quite often people are scared of putting in a zip, and so they can come along and learn how to do that. It's geared up to suit the individual.
And do they need to bring their own machines, or do you have a bank of machines now that you use?
I have a bank of 8 machines.
Wow.
They're all PAT tested.
Yeah.
I prefer people not to bring their own, just so that I know that everybody's safe. I provide everything. So people just arrive, I give them a cup of tea, cup of coffee, and the fabric is all laid out on the side. They choose what they would like, their zips, the colours, everything. I keep costs to a minimum so that as many people as possible can access the classes.
Good. Yeah.
It's great fun.
Great. Now, I've been following you on your social medias for a long time here via the station. If people want to get in touch with you, I know you've got some websites, and we'll talk a little bit about the websites a little bit later, but so_me_sweet on Instagram is a lovely page, isn't it? Because you basically take so many photographs of the makes and what you're doing. Do you find a lot of interaction via your social medias?
I do, actually. Instagram is great because it's visual.
Of course, visual media.
Exactly, nothing like it. And a lot of the people that I teach are visual learners too.
Good.
So, yes, Facebook and Instagram, really pretty much everything is done through there.
I remember when we first chatted a year or so ago, and you were just getting going on trying to get So Me Sweet as a brand out there. We were talking a lot, and I was trying to tag you into as many different posts to see if we could get some traction. And I really do think the social media has really taken off, especially for, like you say, the visual media.
Superb, yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
When's your next courses? How do we get in touch with you? And your #life story that we do here on Solihull Radio it's so amazing to see the difference over a long period of time of where people go. You know, if you've been listening to other hashtag life stories. If you listen to Dan Clark, you know, he was a ballet dancer and now he's a Solihull builder.
Fantastic.
And he danced in Moscow and places like that. He's only a young chap, but you see the difference. People know where they should be.
I do believe eventually we all end up where we should be.
Yeah.
And also sometimes in life you have to take a risk.
Agreed.
We're here once. You know, I lost somebody this year that absolutely meant the world to me, a member of my family. And it puts everything into perspective, makes you think, hang on, I'm not worrying about the small stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to enjoy life, and I am. I really am.
Excellent stuff. Right, how do we get in touch? When are the courses? How can people interact with you? Let us know.
The best place really is Facebook in terms of the list of classes. There's a very long list on there at the moment. I also do put them out on the local selling sites, which also generates a good amount of people.
Okay.
But Facebook is good, so it just Sew Me Sweet.
Okay, so Sew Me Sweet on Facebook, that's what we'd type into our search.
Yes.
And you'll be able to get in touch with Carol via her Facebook posts. Yeah. And website-wise, if we just type in Sew Me Sweet into a search engine, would it find you? Is a website the next level for you?
It will be, yes. I have had a website, but I have found most of my interest really has come through Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, so the social medias.
Yes.
That's a good way.
I've got a retreat this week, so I've got some ladies coming to stay in a local hotel. They're coming down from Newcastle.
Wow.
They're coming down to stay in a local hotel, and then they come and sew with me. So it's over 2 days, and that's a nice little package that I'm running as well.
That's lovely.
So
can you say which hotel? Is it?
the Village Hotel.
Oh, the Village,
yeah.
over in Shirley.
Yeah, so they're going to have a swim and a relax and a
lovely.
lovely room, excuse me, and then come and do some sewing.
Oh,
so
that's fantastic.
yeah.
And you, if we do want to hook into your courses, you're based locally. It's Cheswick Green, isn't it?
It is, yes.
So it's not as if we have to go into town or anything. It's in a lovely part of Solihull.
Yeah.
And like you say, you can go in, have a cup of coffee with you and make some things.
It's great. The morning classes, quite often mums drop their children at nursery and then they come and sew with me for a couple of hours and then go and pick them up. And that's at my house, so there's parking right on the front of my house. And then the evening classes are at Cheswick Green Village Hall, so you park right outside. No walking in the dark or anything. It's right outside. There's a nice little kitchen, tea and biscuits, social time and sewing. Take home what you make. It's fab.
That's the way. And you look so happy and relaxed with it as well. That's great. Like Carol has suggested, if you want to go and find out some more about joining in on some of these amazing courses that Carol runs, is it just you, Carol, or is there a team of people behind it?
It's just me.
Just you.
Just me.
That takes a lot, doesn't it, to get everything?
Yeah, it's a lot of work getting everything together, all the fabrics going into Birmingham and John Lewis or wherever, and listening to what people want as well, making sure that I've got a good range, good choice of fabrics.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, it's great.
If you do want to get in touch with Carol at Sew Me Sweet, why don't you have a look on her Facebook feed and find out when the next courses are. Beginner right through to the more advanced level of if you think you need to learn how to put a zip in or a secret pocket in a tote bag or something like that. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? I'm going to mention one thing in this. If Carol started by saying she went to the craft fairs and you really enjoyed those and seeing what people are making. At the core on a Wednesday from midday till 2 o'clock, there is Crunch. Now, that stands for Creative Craft at Lunch. If you just want to drop in and have a cup of coffee, there are a group of lovely ladies in there that just take projects in and sit round, have a chat, and they all help each other out on different projects. So it could be crochet, it could be any type of craft. And I've wandered in a couple of times and they've tried to teach me how to knit, but they're a lovely bunch. And I understand where you get that sort of feeling from, because the people in that particular area are just nice people.
It's so good, and honestly, it's very good for your mental health.
Yeah, agreed.
Too. You relax, you're with like-minded people, you all know why you're there, you all want to be there. And it really is. You create something, and it's great to create, and it's just really good for you. Go along to that. Come along to a class.
Yeah.
Be creative wherever and whenever you can. It's so good for you.
And social interaction is incredibly important nowadays.
Absolutely.
Especially with the loneliness campaigns and the calm campaigns. I couldn't agree more. Carol, thank you very much for joining us here today on #LifeStories. If you have a life story here in Solihull that you would like to add to our podcasts and our shows, why don't you get in touch? It's studio@solihullradio.com. Thanks, Carol.
Thank you.
You're listening to Solihull Radio.